Thanks, Councillor. Any other questions or comments of Council before we call the vote? Councillor Gates.
Thank you. Not so sure we needed a special meeting for this, but I guess we're here anyways. I wanted to take a look. I did happen to get the package. Unfortunately, I got it at when I got home from work last night about midnight, so I went through it the best I could. I may miss some of the stuff. Councillor Thompson's already raised the issue that this is the same company that did the convention center. I think that's pretty accurate, and I wasn't aware of any problems. That was actually one of my questions. Was there any problems at all at the convention center? So I'm going to go through this booklet, and I've highlighted some things. Now, this particular company, have they ever worked with the contractor before?
Mr. Dren?
Yes. If you look at, if you look on page 13 and 14, they've listed 4 occasions.
They've worked with the same contractor 4 times?
Correct.
Okay. The other thing is something that's been near and dear to my heart since I got on council was procurement. As we took a look at the convention center, because it's one that I think we can relate to because their involvement there. Just wondering to what degree of local workers will be working there. I happened to take a tour this morning before, it was around 8 o'clock this morning on my way to Spencer actually for a meeting, and I was quite surprised at the amount of work that's already gone on. You know, I was, when I went across there, a lot of the concrete and stuff is done. A lot of things are happening there, so I hadn't heard anything about any local people who's being hired, so I'd like to at least get an update on that if I could.
Well, through Mr. Mayor, and through you, Councillor, that's the exact reason why we're here tonight for a special meeting, because the work has started and we didn't want to leave until the August the 13th meeting, so that's why we felt it was imperative to get you together tonight to get this approved. I can't speak to the amount of local work, but what I can speak to is that with this contractor and the report before you tonight, they have absolutely nothing to do with the procurement process on this. They are simply our advocate or our project manager on the site. So they're not involved in any of the hiring or any of the decisions made related to local hiring. That simply falls to the contractor.
No, I understand that, but I guess seeing we do have a council meeting, I think it's important that I raise that issue now because the work has started. And to your point, we were here just a couple weeks ago, and I wasn't aware that to this degree the work was being done. So I'm saying I wasn't aware. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying.
No, but if I may, it was, we did bring council up to date twice on this. We had an in-camera discussion at the last meeting. We indicated that the RFP was going to be closing and that we needed to get on with it, so that's why it's here tonight.
No, I think what I was saying, with all due respect, is I wasn't aware of the degree of work that's been done, and because I've been raising for a number of years now I'd like to see local people to local projects, if possible, make sure they're getting the jobs. Some of the things that I thought were very good in their presentation on the document was the commissioning was touched on, something that Councillor Mays just raised. Now the commissioning, obviously we learned that this is something that should be done on all our projects. And then just below that, it's on page 9 if anybody wants to take a look at it, the post handover, where it talked about deficiencies. Deficiencies can be corrected, deficiencies can be done promptly. I think we certainly learned our lesson from how we hand over projects from one that we're still dealing with, but I liked the write-up on how it's going to be handled over by the company. And then again I took was a final warranty review done on other facilities in the city of Niagara Falls, because they talk about in their documentation here that MHPM will assist the city with the final warranty review with the contractor. And again, I think as I go through the document, that's all good stuff that I think, I don't know about the rest of the councillors, I'm certainly not going to speak for them, but it certainly is stuff that through what's transpired at the Gill Center I've learned, and I'm glad to see that that's part of it as well. So I guess was there because they've done this before, they've worked for us before, by the way, like the convention center, did we get a final warranty review on that as well, or is that done differently because it was a design and how the structure is?
Well, through Mr. Mayor, the process was very similar, and in fact, Councillor Thompson has indicated that we still have holdbacks at the convention center, and there still are some deficiencies that are ongoing. But their approach to it is one where there's holdbacks. They continue to stay with it, and they continue to get those deficiencies fixed as long as it takes. And that's why there's a certain holdback, even after the warranty period may have ended, or that sort of normal deficiency period. So that's what they're doing at the convention center.
Okay, and when I took a look at the document again that was provided to me, one of the things that they really highlighted is that they've done a lot of work for a lot of other municipalities, and it's nice to hear from Councillor Thompson that while this company was involved with the convention center during, and it sounds like, and again, Councillor Thompson, it sounds like a lot of the corrections were done during the warranty period, which is exactly kind of the way it should work. So that's good, and it looks to me like they hold, and I've asked this question, but I know you're in the process of getting it for me, but I've asked this question before. It's the normal process is you hold back 10%, because that gets a contractor more interested in fixing things, and it sounds to me like this company actually holds more than the 10% back, which again I think puts a lot more pressure on the companies to try and get their money. So I think in the document, I think that's good stuff for our protection, and like I said, I think that's good. Now the one thing that I found interesting on their was that they did the Port Colborne, and I raised in camera. I'm not sure I can say that. I guess I'll retract that. Don't play that. But I raised about the problems that they had in Port Colborne. And I went down to Port Colborne and took a look at it, and I asked back then, has anybody talked to Port Colborne? But what's interesting about Port Colborne is very similar to what Councillor Thompson has said, is that they're under their warranty period. So their problems that they're having in Port Colborne, my understanding, in talking to the employees there, is they're being fixed under the warranty. So again, that's exactly what I believe a project manager, company, or an individual, or however they do their team, should do. So when I went through the document, I actually was quite happy with the document and how they seem like they can protect the city maybe a little better than we've done in the past. So I think that's all good stuff. The other thing that I'd like to ask, and I've asked this before, when I take a look at the RFP, it doesn't tell how much the project manager, how much we paid the project manager on the project already. I think you have to add those two costs in. Obviously, the project manager that was there before was paid a fee to do up to a certain point, and I'm wondering if you have how much that I think it's Mr. Schramm was paid on this particular project. I'm not talking about the Gale Center. I'm just saying on this, because I think it's important for us to know that as well.
Well, if I could, and we don't have that number for you tonight, what I will say is that Mr. Schramm, or UEM, the company, was involved in more than the building. The firm UEM was engaged, and I wouldn't even hazard a guess how many years back, at the beginning of the People Mover project. So we might be talking back, well, many, many years ago. So their involvement through that whole People Mover, WeGo system was sort of a continuous program. So we can certainly get that for you, but we could probably just break out for the building part itself.
Well, that's what I like.
Yeah.
I understand that the WeGo's been a long project. In fact, I think,
We could
quite frankly, I think Councillor Thompson was a mayor back then. I think when it really started. So I mean, I understand it goes back a long way, but I would think that we'd be able to designate so much money that you paid the project manager to this project. I think that would be, I think in my I think it's a fair question, and I think it's a fair request
we can
on
get
behalf
that for you.
of Councillor.
Yeah, and we'll get that, and we'll just share that.
I
with all
appreciate it, but I'd just like to say that the document itself that was provided to us, I mean, I don't know the company at all, but the document is well done, and a lot of the concerns that I have that I certainly learned over the last, probably last 6 months or 8 months around the Gale Center, they've really answered a lot of those questions in their document. So it's a lot easier to go to. The only other one is, again, if we can get local people doing the work there, I think it'd be great for the local economy. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, and just to wrap that part up, is that the amount that's quoted here for this consultant is within the remaining budget that we had for that portion of the project, but we will certainly get you the other number.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
A lot of good questions and comments, and you're absolutely right, Councillor, that having that holdback clause gives us the leverage to make sure everything's done right. And I know at the convention center they had some issues with the roof, but apparently there's some birds that are having activity on the roof, and they're trying to figure out what it is. Similar hospital problems in St. Catharines with their roof as well. So it's good we can get ahead of that. Are there any other questions or comments on the motion that we've got moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Pietrangelo? Okay, seeing none, then we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Excellent. Just moving along, I asked Mr. Holman if he would just give us something of an update. As you know, we had a major wet weather event this past weekend, and it's ironic. It was just a little while ago that Calgary and High River had a significant wet weather event. And I just came from there. I was just out there. And matter of fact, I had brought this shirt just to show like what they're doing to deal with. They had approximately 100,000 people displaced from their homes. 100,000 people. And so far they're at about $5 billion in damage. And I went to High River and I saw, and it's pretty amazing to see boats on top of people's houses, railroad tracks completely twisted and off the ground, bridges, like it's unbelievable the devastation. And then of course a little bit later Toronto has an issue, and then of course now we do. And these 100-year floods seem to happen every few years now, so times are changing. But anyway, these are the shirts that they were selling in Calgary, and it says "Come Hell or High Water" for the Stampede. And it was funny, they were originally hoping to sell 500 of these shirts, and they were selling 1,000 per hour. And when I left Calgary, they'd already raised $2.1 million for flood victims. I mean, obviously it's a spit in the bucket, but the point is that they're doing all they can. And the bigger part of it too is, and I shared some information with Mr. Holman, a lot of these houses are built on floodplains, so there's not really much that you can do. So now there's a suggestion for all communities, and Niagara Falls has houses on floodplains too, is that homeowners sign a covenant understanding the risk, because you can't get flood insurance, for rivers coming up and whatnot, and it can happen, especially the way the world seems to be going with climate change and whatnot. So anyway, I did want to share that, but I did ask Mr. Holman if he could maybe give us an update on where we're at. We're fielding an awful lot of calls. I did visit some basements. I did see the situation this morning, and it's sad. Our heart goes out to anyone that has to go through this. Mother Nature's a pretty tough lady. So maybe we can ask Mr. Holman where we're at and what the latest status is.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. You're right. City of Niagara Falls was not spared from the events that occurred on Friday evening that affected most of southern Ontario. We've responded to about 400 calls so far. We know that you've received a number or two as councillors, and we intend to get to investigate all of them. So we encourage people to call in, and we'll document the call and the complaint. At this point, all the roads are passable. There's about 15 road sections that were either partially blocked or had to have some temporary work done as a result of washouts, sinkholes, and cracked pavement. And we're going to continue to remediate those as quickly as possible. Majority of our calls, though, were for sewer backups and basement flooding. Most of them in the areas that we're aware of, the combined sewer areas. However, there's a significant number that are coming in from the areas that have separated sewers, and most of those problems are related to weakening tile connections to our sanitary sewer. So we hope to have a more detailed report available to you and an action plan on how should be making timely investments moving forward in the next couple of months. The rainfall gauges provided some precipitation data for us, and I think was for the most part it was the north end of the city that received the brunt of the storm. We see the rainfall gauges in the southwest corner recorded about 39 millimeters of rain over a 12-month period. And in the
12-month period, or?
Over a 12-hour period. And in the north end at the pollution control plant, they recorded 106 millimeters over 12 hours.
Wow.
And at the peak time, within a 1 hour period, there was rainfall of about 58 millimeters, or just over, say, 2¼ feet in 1 hour. So that's a huge storm event for us. And although it's not as catastrophic as maybe what we've seen on TV in Hamilton and Toronto and certainly out in Calgary, there were a number of properties, and there still will be some impacts to various property owners across the city. We're following up on about 8 locations where we've had water over the road. We have about 30 locations where there is still drainage, surface drainage issues that we're following up on. And one of the most devastating impacts was felt with our trees. And as you drive across the city, it didn't seem like any area was spared. Most of the north end of the city were and older areas of the city where we have our more mature trees. There's more significant impacts, and it's going to take us about a month or so before we really are able to go back and have a look at some of these trees. We're making them safe now. However, we know that we get some additional winds that we might have to go back, and we want to make sure that these trees aren't going to cause any power outages. I guess according to the wind gauges, we're looking at winds of up to 105 kilometers per hour. And there are some huge impacts too at the Fairview Cemetery. There's a number of older, mature trees that are down, and so we're asking for the community's patience as we get those trees removed and everything made safe. We'll be back to normal operations probably in the week. And we have to do some additional maintenance there. We've been working with the region, and we're waiting for them to finalize their public service announcements. And from what I understand, they're looking at offering some additional leniency with respect to bag limits for garbage collection. And we hope to have some additional information which we'll put on our website and direct people to the region's website as well, possibly by the middle or end of this week. And they're also looking at a tree branch collection that would allow residents to put tree branches up to a certain size. I believe it's 5 feet in length, and trees that are 3 inches in diameter or less, bundled up in about 2.5-foot bundles, put them on the curbside, and the region's waste collection contractor, and Terra, will be looking to pick them up. So we're going to continue our effort to try and bring things back to normal, but as you say, it will probably take a month or maybe 2 to get to the point where we've fully recovered from the storm event Friday.
Thank you very much, Mr. Holman. Yes, just before we take some comments and questions, a couple things. One, I do want to update you. I was at the region today, and they have agreed that they will do extra garbage pickup starting this week. I don't know, the email may have come since we've been in here, and as soon as we do, we'll share that with everyone. But I did meet with Catherine Abermel today at the region and made the request, and they agreed. They got the pricing from Ontario. They've already agreed to do that. So we're good to go in that regard. And so maybe just to help people understand, so if they have had a problem with their house, whether it's weepers or backflow valves or sump pumps, whatever the case is, what should they do? The first thing they should do is call their insurance company. Is that right? Is that the first step? Can you just give us a real quick walkthrough? Either Mr. Holman or CAO, whoever prefers.
Yeah, and from a risk management point of view, we want to make sure that the issue gets investigated and gets cleaned up as quick as we can. There are links on the website, and claims can be filed through the clerk's office if you don't want to do it electronically. And then we'll follow up, we'll send them to the adjuster, and we'll move ahead with them. We also would like to investigate them ourselves, because then it gives us an opportunity to inform residents about our weeping tile removal assistance program, which has been in place for a number of years, but maybe not as popular as it should be. Probably be more popular over the next couple of weeks. And we'll encourage people to take advantage and avail themselves to that program.
Okay, that's great. Mr. CAO, you want to add to that?
Just one other comment, Mr. Mayor. You asked about what people should do first. They should be calling their own insurance first, and they should be getting them on scene, and they should get them active. And they should worry about any subsequent claim that they may be lodging through us later. Get your own insurance involved. We do not actually go on private property and clean up people's basements and pump out their basements. That is something for a private contractor, and it's something for your own insurance to coordinate. So we ask people to do that. But if you are submitting a claim, as Mr. Holmes said, there'll be information. There is information on our website. We're going to highlight it a little bit more on our homepage so that people can get easier access to it. That'll probably be up and running tomorrow morning, but it is there on the site now as we speak. But that would be the first thing. So don't be waiting necessarily for a response from the city. Get your own insurance involved. If you don't have insurance, you're going to have to find a way to get your water pumped out and your mess cleaned up, and there's an avenue here to submit a claim. These claims are all on a sort of a case-by-case basis, and they're based on our insurance people and our staff looking at individual situations, but we have to go through that claim process. So you must submit, there's documentation that's highlighted on the website, and you must get that information to us in a timely manner so that we can follow up and investigate it.
Okay, thank you. We've got, yes, Mr. Clerk?
Yeah, just to that point, the claims have to be written, they have to be handed into the clerk's office. You can't fax or email them.
Okay, excellent. We've got Councillor Thompson, Carrio, and Maves.
Yes, if it's a sewer backup, that's insurance. If what happened on Valley Way in Homewood, where the hydro field behind the school there, Valley Way School, filled up, came across the road, and went all into the backyards, filled up the pools with mud, flooded the backyards, and then come into the basement. Not covered by insurance. Really a sad situation, and a particularly hard-hit area. One of the questions I had from some of the one individual was the fact they had 50 boxes of garbage and debris out of their basement that they had picked up, and they called the region for the pickup, and they said that it was so onerous of how they had to package and prepare all of the debris. It was almost impossible to do. So I'm wondering if you could ask the contractor and through the region if there is some way they could be a little more lenient with the rules and regulations till we get past this particular period, because they got all the stuff out there, and then they called to get it picked up, and they said you have to do this, you have to do that, and it was impossible for these people to try to accomplish. And of course they were seniors, which made it even more difficult. So if you could pass that on, try to work with the bad situation we have to try to help the people in this situation.
Yeah, I'll definitely follow up with that this afternoon. Councillor Carrio?
Thank you, Your Worship. You mentioned backflow preventer valves. I wonder if we might get our engineer to maybe tell the people out there that are listening. I happened to look at someone's basement that had been flooded through a backflow preventer, and once they installed it, they didn't service it. But I think a lot of people don't understand that they can't just put a backflow preventer valve in and forget about it. Now, I don't know about the modern ones, but the older ones need service. So maybe the engineer would explain that. And I think people think that they're covered because they have it. But if they've never serviced it, the flap opens and it won't close. Am I right, Mr. Engineer?
Mr. Holman, yeah, for the people at home.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Carrio is correct. And maintenance to servicing of some pumps. There are devices that have to be maintained on a regular basis, and something that's designed and constructed initially like a backflow preventer, which is essentially a check valve. If it's not maintained, then it doesn't close properly, and it won't keep any sewage or any surcharging of the main out of your basement. So it's important that you maintain them on a regular basis. It's just like looking after your car or any other component of your house. You have to inspect them, and we try to provide that information through our RAP program, and we'd be happy to share any of that information with any resident. But it's so critical that these devices are maintained on a regular basis.
That's a great point.
Yeah, especially if you think you're protected. So you've spent the money to put the backflow preventer in, forget about it, and think that because others are flooding, you're not going to, and you haven't maintained it, and surprise, you're flooded as well.
Absolutely. It's a false sense of security sometimes if you don't take care of these types of things. Also, we've got Councillor Maves.
Yeah, Your Worship, I had a call during the storm to put some wires down, and the person called the hydro, couldn't reach anybody at the hydro, called our service center, couldn't reach anybody at the service center, so eventually they called 911, and I guess the police came and cordoned off the area till someone from the hydro came. Is our service center just have regular business hours, or is anybody on call there? How does that work?
We'll get the engineer to help us answer
Perhaps
this.
we can.
Our service center's manned 24/7, 365. There's always somebody there to take the call. Depending on the time in which that call was received, you may have been directed to the answering service, which would have forwarded the message in a queued fashion. We did call in additional staff to try and handle the volume of calls, particularly on the Saturday morning. So if this was on the Friday night, I believe the correct course of action would have been to call 911, who would have contacted Hydro.
This was roughly about 11 o'clock on Friday night, so, but anyway, they said they couldn't get through to the service center, so anyway, I put them on a few numbers, but then he finally phoned 911, and the police did cordon off the area till someone got there to secure it.
And that was correct.
Mr. Mayor, even the chief and I and Mr. Holman throughout the weekend were communicating, and we actually kind of got together on a bit of a post-mortem, if you will, on Monday morning to try to talk about ways that we could, improve the situation, because it seems evident to me that these kind of storms are going to continue to occur. So we're working on that communication piece. But even at that point, the chief had indicated that they had a huge backlog of calls. They had to call additional staffing in to man their communication systems as well. So they were handling it the best they could, but there was a backup and a delay of calls during that period of time.
And the other thing that we're going to do, and we're getting closer to getting our council communication piece put together, that'll go to all the residents, and it'll update them again on things like Councilor Carey mentioned, servicing the backflow valves, and the hours of the service center, and all these types of information that people need to know. It's another reason why we need to work all that we can to help with communication. Was there any other questions or comments yet? Councilor Gates.
Sorry, just real quick. Mayor Diodati and myself attended a function on Sunday, and one of the residents in the Beaverton area came to the mayor on a Sunday afternoon and was talking about that the flooding problem. And another one at that function also talked about the Alpine area. And you try to talk to them the best you can, but I was wondering if I like the website and it's extra information, and I agree with everybody before me that I think these things are going to happen more and more. I think there's something going on in the environment that we're going to have more and more storms. I'm wondering if we thought of a hotline during an emergency on where they could report stuff rather than website, because not everybody, particularly a lot of seniors, I deal with a lot of retirees in my other job. A lot of them don't have computers and don't be on the website, but they most have a way of phoning. So maybe when you're having those meetings, maybe that's something that you could consider as well. Thank you.
Yeah, and when you do call the city hall after hours, it gives you the number to the service center, which is manned 24 hours, but I'm sure the volume they could. And I also want to mention, well done to all the crews that were clearing the roads, the trees. I flew into Hamilton, and the trees there were unbelievable. I think they had more tree damage than here. I mean, full mature trees all over the streets, closed down, and our guys got everything cleared up fast. and they were out pumping water. They worked very, very hard around the clock on the weekend, and they did as great a job as they could do given the circumstances, and having to abandon their own houses to go work for the city to clear everyone else's houses. So I think well done. Just really quickly then, I do want to mention there was obituary, Eleanor Bell, mother of Tim Bell, an employee at the service center, so condolences from council. I also want to thank Councillor Peter Angelo for being acting mayor during my time away, and he had some very interesting things he did. Well done, and especially a skill I didn't know he had, but wow, you want to hear him sing. You know, this guy can sing Happy Birthday, and I would encourage everybody to get on Facebook and watch the video. Well done. Especially the cha-cha-cha part of the Happy Birthday. His daughter. But they were a team. They were singing Happy Birthday to Nelson Mandela on Thursday for his 95th birthday. And he went down to the Maid of the Mist. And did anything you wanted to mention about your singing? Or good job. I just wanted, did I mention go on Facebook to watch the rendition? Well done. And I understand you drove a smart car too, or you got to drive some smart?
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to say thank you very much. Appreciate you covering the fort. And I understand, like I said, you're singing. The only singing that maybe would have given you a run for your money was Councillor Thompson singing the Monster Mash. But you know, but I'd like to see that too. So maybe he you might be able to give us a little bar.
August 13th.
Pardon me? August 13th. Karaoke night, August 13th. And I want to thank Councillor Peter Angelo as well. I know Councillor Gates joined them at the Via Rail information session. And I know you had, I didn't know if there's anything you wanted to comment on, but...
Well, Your Worship, I mean, I think Councillor Gates and I, and I'm sure yourself, were of the same opinion. I know Serge Bellasetti attended with us. There was a couple people there from the Chamber of Commerce as well. I think everyone just kind of sees it as a step backwards in terms of service for the train. You know, I wish that VIA would have had some talks with the affected municipalities before the decision was made. And I know they said that they're open to talks, but that they need partners financially in order to institute another run. So that's where we're at right now. It's unfortunate that the service cut was made.
I know they canceled the service, then a year later said you want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, it was a little bit backwards. I was with the Mayor of St. Catharines yesterday too, and we were having the same discussion, kind of frustrating. But also I want to remind the public, those watching at home, City Council meetings now begin at 5 p.m. on Tuesdays, and we're now in our summer schedule, so the next scheduled meeting of the summer will be Tuesday, August the 13th, 5 p.m. Mr. Clerk, are there any additional bylaws or amendments to the bylaws for Council's consideration?
No, Your Worship.
All right.
Motion to introduce the bylaws, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Pierangelo, second by Councillor Mays, that we have a motion to introduce the bylaws. All those in favor?
Bylaws 2013-119 and 120 read a first time.
Second and third, Your Worship.
Motion by Councillor Pierangelo, second by Councillor Mays for second and third reading. All those in favor? Okay.
Bylaws 2013-119 and 2013-120 read a second and third time and passed.
Okay. Any new business?
Just want to ask a question.
Yep, Councillor Pierangelo.
Your Worship, I just wondered, are we any closer to signing an agreement with OLG?
It could. Maybe we'll get the CAO to. Good question.
Well, I could, Mr. Mayor, I could provide an update. In fact, there would be a press release, I believe, coming out of OLG today. So we did receive our first payment from OLG. It was 5.3 million. 5.3 million. Did I? Yeah. But the agreement was sent to us in draft, and our staff is currently reviewing it, and we hope to have some further dialogue with OLG about the wording and contents of that agreement. We hope on the 13th of August, which is our next meeting, to I think just have some dialogue, hopefully around the council table, about the agreement and kind of how council may give staff some direction to come back perhaps with a report and see how we deal with that. So we're hoping that we can just, because at that point we may not have had further discussions with OLG, but at that point on August 13th we just hope to have maybe a bit of a roundtable discussion here in open council as to kind of where council sees us going with the disposition of those funds. So we hope to have that on the 13th. We'll have that on the agenda.
Your Worship, I've been waiting for that discussion to happen for a while. I know we were just talking about flooding. Obviously, we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that our infrastructure is important, but I will save a lot of my comments until the August 13th meeting. Just in terms of the flooding, though, on a personal note, I lost a huge tree in my front yard. I also back onto part of Shriners Creek, which overflowed at that point, and it overflowed about 20 feet closer to the homes. The level of water that we saw, I mean, I've seen rain come down like that before. I've just never seen it sustained for the period that it was. There was so much rain there. Your Worship, I know Mr. Todd just stated that the first check did by the OLG. I'm just wondering, was that April 1 to June 30th? Is that the time frame that it was? Because I was under the understanding that our agreement would be retroactive to April 1st, 2013.
Retroactive date.
So that was for April, May, and June. That was the remittance that was sent over?
I don't have the, unfortunately Mr. Harrison's not here, I don't have the reconciliation on that.
Okay.
I'm not sure, so I can't comment on for what period that covers, but that was the amount of the check.
I'm just trying to get a picture in my head of what the annual remittance will be, Your Worship. Okay, thanks. I'll wait till August 13th.
Any other new bit? Councillor Thompson?
Yes, I wasn't going to bother about this, but seeing we still have a couple hours left, might as well bring it up. Surprisingly enough, a businessman called me about changes to his existing building he was going to make, and I bring this up because I know we're going to be discussing changes to the development charges in the future. The gentleman prepared plans, a very insignificant 3,000 square foot addition to the top of his building to infill between two sections. The lower section was already there. Didn't have to put in a foundation or anything. Had the plans prepared, sent his blank check in for approval. The building permit value was $1,937.38. There was a service deposit, which is natural, of $750. The development charges were $15,610 from the city. And then when he heard the development charges from the region, he took his plans back, took his check back, and canceled the project. The development charges for the region were $38,868.80. The total for the permit, which was only $1,900, was $57,167. It was pretty alarming to me to see that on the actual permit. I'm wondering if I want to give this to staff. The gentleman has 4 other properties that he was going to come in and develop, and I wonder if this has just come to the point at the regional level where this has become a deterrent. We're at a situation now where we're trying to create jobs, we're trying to stimulate activity, and I found it shocking, $38,868 development charges for 3,000 square feet without the foundation, without anything else. Anyway, I'll refer to it, and maybe we can use this as a basis for discussion, but the property is at 4490 Montrose Road. It's the Dominion Auto Body, but Ange
Marina
is concerned about, and he canceled the project. So I think that should be a flag to us to at least look into it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we'd be happy to, through you, we'd be happy to look into this. Been a couple of situations like this, and it is one of the items that, as we go through our development charge review, these are certain, questions and discussions we need to have around the table on sort of infill projects or projects of a minor nature. So it's something that we hope we can get some good debate around the council table, and that review is coming back later this fall, I believe. Yeah, we hope to have it before the end of the year. So we definitely want to have this kind of discussion around this table.
And I think that's one of the reasons I brought it up. When you have, we just went through one of the worst recessions we had since the Depression. If this was a very healthy environment that we're in now, with everybody having the opportunity to have jobs, to do development, to create jobs, that's one thing where you say, hey, we got to get our development charges up to par. But this is pretty shocking, and I think maybe we should be taking that into consideration, not too much at the city level, because 15,000 compared to almost 40 is pretty shocking. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. Any other new business? Yes, Councilor Gates?
Yeah, I actually sent an email on this earlier about raising this. Because we are here and there's lots going on at the Gale Center, I wonder if we can get an update.
I'd be happy to give an update. And Councillor Gates did make some inquiries of us earlier in the week. We're gathering some information, so when we get all that together, we'll make sure all members of council get it. Well, the Gale Center is proceeding. I've actually been involved with two conference calls and sessions over at the Gale Center since the remediation or the repair work started. Matina, the contractor on site, in my opinion, certainly knows what they're talking about and are really doing a thorough investigation for us. We're having another conference call tomorrow. They are testing the system. They have drained the system. They're doing water pressure testing on the system and determining what other leaks and problems may be there. Right now, we are hoping we're as close as we can be on schedule. What we're hoping is that we can get phase one of the project completed, which is sort of the ability to get the ice making equipment back up and running so that we can get our ice users back in the building as quickly as possible. And the target for that is still the first week of August. There may still be some additional work required after that on the non-ice equipment, but that will not impact the ice users. So it's proceeding along pretty good, and I've been pretty pleased with what I've seen over there the last few days.
Thanks very much, and maybe just to help, because we haven't really discussed this, what is you feel is going to be the cost? Just so the residents can...
Well, as we indicated before, the arrangement that we had with Matina was, I can't remember the exact amount, but it was around the $150,000 range for that work. As they get in and find more things, that number may vary, but that was our best guesstimate when they got in on site and started the work.
Okay, and as you're probably aware of, I did go by to take a look at the leaks just so I get an understanding, and I did ask a question that is a concern because a friend of mine raised it with me and I didn't know. Is there any potential that there's any leaks under the floor?
That's a good question, and the short answer to that is yes, there's a pretty good guarantee that there are no leaks. The flooring system is welded, and there's not the same kind of Victaulic joints that are used, so we have a very high level of confidence that this situation does not exist within the actual refrigeration system itself. Most of the problems are, as far as we know, all of the problems are in the mechanical room and the sort of heat HVAC side of it, not the refrigeration side. And
we should have a indication of that is once we feel that all the leaks are fixed and we're still having a problem with the leak, it's disappearing somewhere. Then maybe that would be another way that we'd be able to tell if we had a problem.
And what we're doing through this project, we are actually, through the contract, doing a little bit more than just fixing the leaks, because we want to get to the point where we can isolate those two systems so that if there does happen to be an additional problem on the one side, it won't impact our ice, and we would not have to be in a position where we took ice out again. So we're doing that kind of corrective work to ensure this doesn't happen.
That would be money well spent, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to have to shut your whole facility down to fix one, so that's good. And the only other thing I'd like to ask is the subcontractor that worked in the Gale Center, did they perform 100% of the work, 80% of the work? Do you have any idea of what percentage of the work they performed? that's caused us the problems.
Well, my understanding, I'm not sure on the refrigeration side. I am not sure on that side. On the side that we're working on the problems, they did all of the work on that side.
Okay, and could you please check, because it was raised with me, could you
Okay.
check on the other two?
Yep.
When you send me that other information, I appreciate that.
Yes, we're still working through.
No, that's fine, that's fine. Just,
I actually know.
I appreciate that.
Just to ask you about the refrigeration work, Councillor Gates, that was done by someone else.
Okay.
The joints on the other side of what I call the other side of the system, the refrigeration side, was a different subcontractor.
Okay, I appreciate that, thank you.
Any other new business? Motion for adjournment? Councillor Ioannoni, second by Councillor